All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about supply and demand in the stock market. More importantly, supply and resistance lines on a chart. So stay tuned and we'll get right into it.
Welcome to the Jedi Stock Podcast. Glad you could join us. The opinions expressed in this broadcast are for entertainment purposes only. Nothing stated in the following should be taken as financial or trading advice. Now, buckle up and let's get into it.
All right, guys. So I know last week I promised that we would be introducing Harley. For those of you that are waiting for that episode to see her and hear her talk a little bit about crypto, I apologize. We are having a little bit of illness go around our house. So if you've been following my Instagram or any of my Twitter, you'll know that I had COVID this whole entire past week. So a lot of stuff got delayed, let's say. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about supply and resistance, support and resistance, actually, rather, lines on a chart. Had a couple of people ask me some questions about, when do you know it's time to, get into a stock or buy the dip, or, you talked a lot about breakouts. How do you see those? So we'll talk a little bit today about that. One of the ways that you can identify, a breakout move or a good time to buy a dip on when to get into a stock. We'll briefly discuss volume because it is important, especially on breakouts. But I'm going to do a whole nother episode on volume as well. Apologize for the glare, guys, on my glasses. Just didn't feel like putting my contacts in. It's been a long day. So I hope that you bear with me. And this one, it may be a pretty short episode. It may not be, depending upon how much I ramble. I have taken some time to go through and pick a few stocks. You can find these on any chart. And what I highly recommend that you do is, for practice, pull up some charts. I'm going to move this over here for a second so you can see where we're at, and then I'll move it back so that you can take a look at it. I'll post a link down below as well because it looks like it's not moving in my screen share. So tradingview.com. You can practice your charting there. You can get not real-time data for free. If you want real-time data, you have to subscribe. I think it's like $14.99 a month. Don't recommend it. Honestly, you can get Thinkorswim for free, and it will give you everything that you can have here, plus some, without having to do it. I'm not pulling up Thinkorswim because I trade in TD Ameritrade, and I didn't want to take the time to, mark out all of my identifying information, my account numbers, P&Ls, and things of that nature. So we're using a free version of TradingView. You'll see some ads come up probably that I'll click out of occasionally, but you'll see it works just fine for that. I don't have any studies or signals or anything on here. My charts are pretty bare anyway, guys. I use VWAP. I have VWAP on all the charts that I'm trading on pretty much any time zone. And then I will use some EMAs, some 9s and some 20s and 50s. So, but we're not going to do that today. That's not what today's about. Today is about support and resistance lines on a chart. So, I think the best way to probably do that is just to start clicking around and showing you guys. So, I've got this chart pulled up, and this is Netflix, NFLX, right? So this is a chart that I pulled up. It's a 1 day, 1 year chart. So what that means is each of these candles, so each line here, if you're new, is a candle on a candlestick chart. We will do some technical analysis later, and I'll explain candlesticks. I'll explain wicks, candles, width, length, color. For now, it's just enough for you to know that Green is price going up. Red is price going down. Okay, so you'll see that's the same with volume down here. These lines represent volume. You can hover over. You can see the little dotted line there with the cross in my red cross. If you hover over where about average volume is, you can just drag it across the top of that, and that will show you average volume. And you'll see there are some spikes above it. Usually with spikes in volume come big moves. So there's a little bit of talk about volume. So let's get back to what we were going to talk about today, though. That is support and resistance. I have drawn myself some lines on this chart for Netflix for support and resistance. They're the blue lines, right? So which line is support and which line is resistance? Well, both. Both are both. And that's usually the case with support and resistance. So, we'll start with the lower level line, the blue one. So a lot of people struggle with where do you draw your support and resistance lines. There's really no trick to it. Is it an art? Maybe a little bit, but it just kind of comes with practice. Rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, rule number 4, and all the way through rule number 10. Do not draw support and resistance lines on 1-minute charts. Just don't do it. They're fake. They're not going to hold. There will be plenty of people that say, yeah, sure, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it for scalps. If you think it works for you, go right ahead. I'm telling you right now, support and resistance lines, long-term charts. I draw them on, 1-day charts. I draw them on, 1 hour, 1 year. I draw them on longer-term charts. If I'm going to be trading on, minute, 5-minute charts during the day, then I'm going to be drawing my charts on a year's worth of data. So, or my lines on a year's worth of data on my chart. So this line, you'll see as I've selected it through here. So this is historical data. Yes, it's a lot easier to see, when you are looking back, but practice. That way you know that you're doing it correctly and you can watch the moves as they come, right? So practice makes perfect in everything that you do, guys and girls. Just keep practicing and keep drawing these. You'll eventually start learning to see the patterns. It becomes pretty easy. So for this line, what you're really looking for is you're looking for multiple points of contact upon this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a lot, right? So you really only need 3 or 4. There's a lot. This is a very defined support and or resistance line. And you can see the reason that you call it support and resistance, because let's talk about when this stock was. We'll start with right here. I want to make sure that you guys are seeing that portion of it. Yes, you are. So we'll start here. And you'll see as the price is bouncing around in between here, which is 505 and 512, let's call it. Anytime it neared this line, even with big volume, it never closed across it, right? So this line held on every single tick right here, which were day tick charts. Okay, when it finally did fall below, right, it struggled to come back up to pass it and didn't. Stopped, right? That is a big time support and resistance line right there. Then you see when it comes up past it, normally when it goes across a line, when it finally does break a line, it does it pretty convincingly, right? So that's a pretty big move down right there. That was 504 to 478. That's a huge drop, guys. That's big, right? So when it does go across it to the upside, and here's the funny thing about this one, right? So it shot through this zone, which is a consolidation zone right here. We'll talk about that in a minute. Shot through this zone. Gapped up, shot through the zone, immediately went above this next line. Okay? So that was another huge move. We're talking about when this candle started here, 498 to 540, another massive move, right? So when it moves against or breaks out from a support or resistance line, you see massive movements one way or the other. And a lot of traders like to trade this. They watch for these things, right? They watch for the breakout. They watch for a confirmation of that breakout, and then, they'll slap it, and they'll slap a big order, or they'll start, phasing in their orders, scaling in, and then just ride it up or down. So, now let's talk about this line. So this line, well, bad example in this instance, but we'll talk about it over here. This line did not hold resistance. It immediately broke, right? Tried to come back down and test it against it, which made it a support line, up and then down. It just kept coming down. It just kept coming down to this line and just kept bouncing off. When it finally did break, it broke down pretty good, right? So now this is a consolidation zone, guys. So, this line in this instance for this time frame is very important. Either of these lines can be either, when I said they could be either or, so this, for this time frame specifically, this line was resistance, this line was support, and you can see it, bang, 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 right? Banging off the support up here, bang, 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 even bang right there, coming back down off of resistance. So a lot of traders will play in there if they know that that's a consolidation after you can see for a few days. I mean, you can take some swings on this for a few days. I mean, you're making between 504 and 526. I mean, those are massive gains, guys, right there, just playing in that. And there are a lot of traders that have specific trading plans for trading in consolidation. But what I want you to notice here is, here we go. It tested. All right, so when it breaks, what do we know? When it breaks with conviction. And it broke. I mean, this thing shot up and still hasn't come anywhere back down. And we're probably here going to be starting another new area of resistance, support, and resistance, right? So this may probably be another new consolidation zone. And then you'll watch to see if it breaks out up again or if it breaks out down again, right? So this one, I specifically chose Netflix because it's really easy to see on breakouts of support and resistance, right? So that's why I chose this one. So we're going to go to another one. I'm actually going to go to, I played this one. There are a lot of stocks that you can actually play daily. This is one that I do. Let me get zoomed in here. Come back up. Sorry, guys. I had this all set for you guys, but we're going to... All right, so I've already drawn my lines here, right? So you'll see, I mean, those are some pretty good lines for resistance and support for a short term for this area here that I'm playing. So for this chart, I'm now going to switch. Let's go to a... Come on. Wow, look at there. So my chart obviously got really wonky. Well, I guess what you guys are going to do is you're going to get a chance to see me draw some more here. So what we'll do is we'll draw some more. Now, again, we don't really draw on 1 minute charts for support and resistance, but since my chart got super jacked, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it on here because there are, there are plenty of zones on here that I can show you just so that you can see me do it. So let's go ahead and delete that one. We're going to delete that one. All right, so we will start with a line of support. Okay. We're going to touch that right there. We're going to draw another one. Let me zoom out a little bit here. There we go. All right, so we're going to touch across this line, these, right here. So there's your area right there. So if we were going to draw this line on a minute chart and play it for scalping, what you'll see is your zone here for purchasing, right? So you're between, call it, 302 and 325, right? So that's a 23 cent area there that you can play within. And one of the things that I like about AEI is you can time this for, in the morning, so in the morning it's going to go down, right? So the lowest price that it normally will hit for the day is, probably around between 9:30 and 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that's the time that I trade on. So I'll literally watch and I'll see if it's following the pattern that I know that it will follow for that day, right? And if it gets to my target entry, which is, near this bottom line, which is the support line, then I will place a limit order for that stock for amounts, a certain amount of that stock, 10,000 shares or whatever that may be at that time. And the thing I like about, AEI and, the consistency is you can set a stop loss, pretty shortly under here. And if it's not going to work, if it's going to drop below it, you'll know pretty quick. It'll just bust out. It'll close your order, and then you won't have to worry about losing a whole bunch of money, right? So what'll happen though is typically, you'll buy it in the morning, and then it just kind of trickles up, and then you can close it, right? So where you're looking to take profits is, right here around the 324, 323, 322 mark, probably 320, right? Don't get greedy, guys. Greed will kill you. Greed kills gains, period, 100%, without certainty, every single time. If you're sitting here and you're waiting for this, it may never get there. It may stop right here, right? And then you're going to be riding it back down. So don't do that to yourselves. I highly recommend you check AEI. Just watch it, for the next few days. It's been pretty consistent. All right, so what was the other that I had? Oh, yes, everybody's favorite. Let's check Apple. All right, we're going to go back to today. All right. My chart's good here. Okay. So, here's Apple. Everybody knows Apple, right? This is another example of a one-day long-term chart, right? So, I drew some significant stop points. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of these played really close to it. And then up here, that's a triple top. Boom. That triple top, you better draw a line across that for sure, 100%. I mean, that is the most glaring signal of this is a resistance line that there is out there. So if you see a triple top, draw across it. But this one actually hits it again, right? And then again here where it was actually even trying to become support. So as you practice these, you will definitely start noticing that you're not having problems seeing the pattern. So what I will say also is do some practice. Take some screenshots. I mean, hit me up on Twitter, DM me, guys. I'll look at them. I'll pull them up. I'll look at them. I'll critique it. I'll let you know if you're on the right track or if you're not. If you don't want to use me, use some of your other friends who know what they're doing, right? Not somebody who's just been trading for a couple of months. Because, I mean, quite arguably, this is, one of the most important things that you will do on a chart is draw your lines of where you're going to watch to see if a stock is going to do what you think it's going to do, right? So that's what support and resistance lines are. If you draw these on a chart, what you're saying to yourself is, I know that this is an area where I can expect the stock to react in the way that I think it's going to react based on volume or news, which we will cover in another area. But you will know upon these lines whether your decision, if you choose to invest in the stock one way or the other, if you choose to short sell it or if you choose to buy it, you will know very quickly whether you have made the right or the wrong decision. This is where emotion comes into play. Do not get emotional about your trades. If you have made a wrong decision, get out. Get out. It may not ever come back to the price that you think it's going to be. And if it does, you're going to wait until that price comes back around, and it's going to hold your money hostage that you will not be able to use to do anything else until it gets back to that price that you even initially bought it for. So what you're basically doing is you're holding a stock for, hours, days, weeks, months to make zero money on it. That's just silly. So if you make a wrong decision, get out. Okay? Right? So that was support and resistance. Simplified. Actually, not simplified. Actually, that was a very short rant, I guess, about support and resistance. But again, guys, I'll tell you. I mean, there are very few things that I use daily in trading. Support and resistance is one of them. Volume is the other. Regardless of anything else that I do, any other indicator or study or anything else that I have on my charts, I will always have lines of support and resistance, and I will always have volume, because I make my decisions on what I think is going to be the best trade for me to take that day based on those two things. Now, news obviously matters. There are some other things that matter, but if this is all you have on your chart, you're better than probably 80% of the people out there. So learn this, learn it well, practice it. Don't just practice it and think that you have it. Confirm that you have it. Send it to someone. Like I said, send it to me. I'm not charging you guys for this. Send it to me. I'll look at it. I'll send it to somebody else if you want another opinion. We'll give you multiple opinions on it. Practice this. Learn how to do it, not with real money, until you really fully understand how to draw these charts. I apologize for the mix-up on the AEI. Evidently, I was COVID brain and maybe even had a couple of whiskeys while I was trying to save those charts to do that. So you guys got to see me be real. You got to see me mess up and then try to just draw an example out of it. So I hope that this helped you. I hope that you do practice. I hope that you will start taking some of these things that we are talking about and learning how to pick your own stocks, learning how to basically set your own strategy, learning how to watch the stocks that you set for your watch list. We will have another show about how you decide what stocks you're going to play for the day, how you decide which stocks we're going to watch. Many different ways that you can do that, many different schools of thought. I'll show you what works for me, and I'll show you what works for some other people, and we'll go through that. But before you ever get there, this is one of the things you need to learn. Before you can start, putting money into an account and saying, I'm going to consistently make 1% of my account every day, you need to understand when you're looking at a chart, if you're looking at an area of consolidation, an area of breakout above a support or resistance line, or an area where a stock is tanking below one of those things. You need to know those things, because when you know those things, you can act accordingly. Again, hope this helped. It was a little short today, a little bit strapped for time, and got a little bit flustered on my mess up for AEI. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Drop some comments down below. Please hit like. Please subscribe. Please follow us on Twitter. All of those things help, guys. Again, we're not asking for any money from you guys. We're doing this for free. I just hope that we get a chance to help somebody out. So you guys practice, study hard, and let's work on taking some money out of the market.